It's certainly not the best weather for it, but when you've booked a crane and a driver, you need to just crack on with the job. You may have thought that we'd have run out of stories to tell you about engines. What I'm going right now, at this very early hour on this winter morning, is to the slip where the boats usually get hauled out. It's nothing to do with our boat, it's actually to do with our mate Mike's boat. He's actually getting his whole engine taken out for a complete rebuild. And we thought you might find it interesting how they get that big engine out of the small hole. Mike's boat is a Beneteau First 4.5 F5, and this is the engine as you look at it from the starboard side. I thought our working space on our engine was tight. This has certainly changed my idea on what tight really means. Looking at the engine head on, we can see that there's certainly going to be a lot of things that are going to need removing before that gets lifted that way. And it's got to go out of that hole there.
Fingers crossed.
Of course, when you're going to take your engine out of your boat, you want the best guy in town doing the job. And guess who's down below? Aiden.
Oh, merhaba.
Merhaba. İyiyim, teşekkürler. It's a Thursday morning in late January and I'm just heading into town for two things. The first thing I'm going to do is head up to Aiden's workshop, where it's now been a little over 4 weeks that he's had Mike's engine from Spicy Lady in his workshop. Basically, the engine hadn't been out of the boat for 30 odd years and it needed a complete rebuild. Now you might think that 4 weeks for an engine rebuild is a long time. And yes, it kind of is if you've got a team of people in the workshop working on the engine. But the thing is, it's winter time and Spicy Lady is not going anywhere, so Mike's got time on his side and he could have had it done in a 2-week time frame, but that would have cost him twice the price. I think off the top of my head the guys in Fetier were quoting him 6,000 euros to rebuild the engine, whereas locally here Aiden is doing it for half that price at around about 3,000 euros. Same parts, same end result, but you just need to give him a little bit more time to get the job done. Spicy Lady's engine looking spiffy. She's still yet to be painted, lots of new parts on it as we can see. We still haven't got the gearbox attached here, that is still in the process of being rebuilt. One handy little feature on this Perkins engine is a built-in oil pump out system, and so you just attach your pipe to here, bring it out to an empty container and you can pump out your old oil when you're doing an oil filter change. A nice big tub of water for her to drink from and to regurgitate back out to.
Ne? Sen mi? Ha. Sen şey yapacaksın. Tamam. Bu ters dönecekse ters çevir. Sonra içeride çeviririz onu. İyi.
Overall then, Mike, how do you feel about the engine rebuild? Was it good, bad or ugly?
Good, good. And that map is done.
Yeah.
For 11 years we've been leaking oil everywhere, and now it isn't. The map, it looks well.
It looks good too, yeah. Yeah, and sounds good. Yeah. So Iden did a sterling job, and has he actually given you a final price yet?
Not yet, no.
No. What are you estimating the final price to be?
I'd say about £4.5 maybe.
In pounds or euros?
Either pounds or euros, but I did have a quote from Fessier for 7.
Right.
And Iden's going to come in about 4.5.
Right.
So
that's not too bad.
But I haven't had the final price out of him yet.
Yeah.
He wants to come and do the last service on it.
Yeah.
Run it for 10, 12 hours and then service it again. That's it. Yeah,
so,
happy.
So you'll be able to water ski behind Spicy Lady this summer?
Hopefully, yeah.
Tlos turned out to be a pretty amazing sight, didn't it?
Great sight to have one,
Yeah, it's a really large place, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So, apparently there's a famous
Gorge.
Sailboat Gorge, I think it's the second largest gorge in Europe, is not far away from Tlos, and we're actually following the sign there. I know it's closed until April, but it may be that we can park and just have a look.
Street dog.
Look at it, look, she's had a few babies, hasn't she? Gisley Kent Shalawesi waterfall.
Something like that. I don't know if you can see it, but there's that tree appears to be weeping. Maybe it's a weeping willow. Oh, God, that was a bad joke. So this is not Sailboat Gorge. This is just another little place that we saw as we were headed there, and it said waterfall 1 kilometre. So we drove here and came down to have a look at the water in this wonderful little gorge.
But the actual waterfall itself, you have to paddle.
300 metres up that way.
And it's the middle of January almost. It's not happening, is it, Baz?
Not getting anywhere near that water. No. Must be lots of minerals in this water that's running down the mountain, because it's formed a rocky crust. And now it's the climb all the way to the top. It's quite obvious this place gets really busy in the summer months. And they've got these kind of little tree houses attached to quite a few of the trees here. Some are on multi-levels, but I'm guessing they've got tables and chairs in there in the summer, and you can eat your lunch in there and just have a cup of tea, a cup of chai. Cute, really cute. So if you're ever in this neck of the woods of Turkey, it's well worth a visit down to that waterfall. And I've looked at some of the food they have on offer. The prices are pretty good and it looks pretty well presented.
Gisley Kent Shalawesi.
Something like that. Right, let's go and see if we can find the other one.
Okay. Very, very chocolate gazelle. Very pretty.
This is just a little bit downstream from Sailboat Gorge, and this is the riverbed, and I'm not sure if you'll get a perspective of how wide this riverbed is, but it is very, very wide indeed. So I'd imagine when all that snow melts on the top of those mountains over there and starts rushing down here, this will be a sight to see.
I mean, that's how many metres across?
Yeah, probably 200 metres, maybe a bit more.
So 200 yards for non-metric people.
Yeah, a lot of water comes this way.
Well, that was Sailboat Gorge. We saw a couple of people going out on the walkway that runs alongside the gorge. So I don't know whether it is open or isn't open. But
It's a little bit late.
Getting a bit late now.
Yeah.
It's getting a bit cool, and inside the gorge would be extremely cool.
Once the sun goes down, or once you know the sun's not available to you, it really gets cold here.
Very
doesn't it?
quickly, yeah. So we know where it is, and I reckon that we might pop down
Yeah,
another day. Yeah. So time to head back to the boat.
Yeah.
This is just one small part of the fruit and veggie production system here in Turkey. All that you can see shining is not water, it is plastic greenhouses. In fact, this lot goes all the way to the coast. Wow, that's amazing.
That's that.
Yep. Home, James.
We have arrived.
In one of our previous videos there was a big conversation about sailing ABC back to Australia, and in particular which route we were going to take. Were we going to go south through the Red Sea and Indian Ocean, or were we going to go west through the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans? Well, those are big decisions, and they all hinge on countries opening up their closed borders. We can't take the risk of leaving the safety of Turkey and heading out there if we're going to find ourselves shut down somewhere where we don't really want to be or can't afford to be. So those things are still being researched quite deeply, and it's going to take a long time to research them. In the meantime, we are in Turkey and we're going to make the most of it. We're going to use our what would you call them, add-ons or extras to our 12-month Seto Marina contract, and go up the coast of Turkey and drop in and out of the other Seto Marinas, because we can stay at each one of those for 30 days for free, which means we've got somewhere to hide if the weather turns a bit iffy. We've also got places to go in for fuel and water and pump out, and also should anything go wrong mechanically, then we've got that option to go in there too. Now, before we set off on our journey up the Turkish coast, which we're estimating we're going to do about 4 months of, we have a few little jobs that we want to get finished on board ABC. And because we've done everything else in the engine bay except one thing, we're going to do that one thing today, and that is the alternator. It's Monday morning, and Monday was the day we were due to go back to Iden's workshop and pick up the alternator, and I have that right here. Looks like a head in a bag, but I can assure you it is an alternator. What he's done is taken it apart, cleaned it up inside and out, checked that the bushes and everything is okay. And what he did notice was that the two bearings in there's a big one and a little one, that both of those were on their way out. So while he had it open, he replaced those. Total cost 400 Turkish lira. So not bad. I'm going to put that back on the boat. And you may be noticing as well, behind me, there's a bit of a barren boat, and even up here as we look towards our solar panels, no blue shade cloth, no sunbrella. All of the canvas has been taken down and washed, and it's now in the workshop of the guy in town who does all the stitching and sewing. After I've reinstalled the alternator to the engine, I'm going to use Kev's power washer to get power washing on the boat, because not only has it got to be mechanically sound, it's got to look pretty too. Before we end this video, I'd just like to say a big thank you and welcome aboard to our newest patrons, Ken and Pam Anderson. Welcome you two, and thanks very much for joining our patron family. If you want to help our channel grow, then there's a simple thing you can do for us, and that is just to click the thumbs up button down below. We'd really appreciate it if you did. In the meantime, until next week, take it easy and be safe wherever you are.